This is everything I need to make the ultimate chow mein. And this is everything I need to forge the knife to make it. Today, we're making one of the most iconic Chinese dishes, chow mein. But not with just any knife. We're using a Chinese cleaver forged from raw steel. And in the end, my slightly picky, non-foodie wife will be the final judge. Now, full disclosure, I'm not a real chef. I'm just a hobbyist home cook who gets overly excited about kitchen knives and spends way too much time making things from scratch. So, no pressure, just my pride on the line. Step 1. Light the forge and heat the steel to 1800 degrees Fahrenheit. I'm starting with a 2 by 10 inch piece of W2 steel. High carbon, highly hardenable, and capable of holding a terrifyingly sharp edge. Perfect for slicing veggies. But before we get to the business end of the blade, we need to forge the tang. There are 3 main types of tangs: full tang, through tang, and hidden tang. We're going with hidden. It's tucked neatly inside the handle, it prevents moisture intrusion, and helps prevent warping or cracking in the handle material. It's perfect for kitchen knives. Not perfect if you're making something to chop through bones, which this knife is not. It's meant for lighter work, and in that case, hidden tang is ideal. Step 2, beveling. I'm using a cross-peen hammer which stretches the steel side to side thanks to its pointed face. Right now, the blade is only 2 inches wide, and I need somewhere between 3 and 4 inches to do this cleaver justice. I'm hoping I picked thick enough stock, but I guess I'll find out. Watching the steel widen under the hammer is deeply satisfying, and at 4 times speed, it's downright therapeutic. I forge the bevels in sections, 1 hammer width at a time. Eventually, we've got our width, I think, but the surface, pretty gnarly. It's filled with peaks and hidden belly ranches, so I switched to my Japanese doghead hammer. Why is it named that? It's probably due to the long snout-esque head, but it probably wasn't named after a pug. This hammer moves steel with less effort thanks to its front-loaded design. I also start wet forging, another Japanese technique, which involves dipping the hammer in water before each heat. This blasts off the forge scale with satisfying steam explosions. It smooths out the surface, and as a bonus, makes me feel like a mythical samurai blacksmith. Now with my blade fully forged, it's time for heat treat. First up, normalization. After smashing hot steel with a heavy hammer for about an hour, the grain structure is understandably upset. Normalizing relaxes the steel by heating it and letting it cool in the air 3 times. You skip this step and your knife's going to end up being pretty brittle and weak. Then, I heat up my quench oil, heat the blade for a 4th time, and quench the blade. W2 is technically a water quench steel, but I'm not about to risk this thin blade cracking in a water quench. So oil it is. A successful hardening leaves the blade with a gray, martensitic surface, which is as cool as it sounds. At this point, the blade is too hard. It could chip or even snap, so I temper it 2 times at 375 degrees for 2 2-hour cycles, letting it cool between. Now it's time to reveal the blade. Think of it like Michelangelo chiseling away everything that isn't David. Except I'm using a grinder and trying not to screw it up. First, I clean up the profile. I didn't forge this quite wide enough. I got it a little over 3 inches, so I got to be careful not to grind too much off. There's a slight warp near the tang. I can fix this with a carbide hammer, which has a carbide ball inserted, and it's so much harder than the steel that it actually stretches the steel surface, letting me bend the blade back. Little miracles. Now on to grinding the bevels. If I forged them fully thin, the steel would lose too much carbon during the heat treat, so I left it thick on purpose. I refined the bevels through successive grits, finishing at 400 grit. Now with the blade done, I can move on to the handle. Most traditional cleavers have fully round handles, which is a great choice if you like to guess where your cutting edge is and add your fingies to the food. I prefer to not cut my fingers off, so I go for an oval or egg-shaped cross-section in the handle, which gives me better control and index stability. I definitely didn't make that word up. For materials, I'm using mammoth ivory. Yes, that's a real thing. Perfectly legal, probably. And something called Apsalia burl. The tang needs a slot and then a shoulder recess in the handle. And just like you, this handle has a butt cap, which is also ivory, held in place with 2 small pins for added strength. I glove up to avoid epoxying myself to the project. Then I mix up and dye the epoxy black to hide any hypothetical mistakes. Once cured, I can clean off the excess and draw layout lines with a clever pencil wheel device, and then shape the handle. First, I get the thickness done, and then the profile. Now I've got a square block. I need to knock the corners off and round everything over so it's a comfy oval, not circle. After hand sanding, the grain absolutely pops. And once I add oil, this thing looks stunning, but no peeking till the end. Not done yet, I need to hand sand the blade so the scratch lines follow the length of the knife. This is the chef's kiss step. Time consuming, but worth it. Finally, sharpening. I'm using water stones that I have not flattened in years. Fixing them takes about 2 hours with sandpaper, elbow grease, and a granite slab. It's not fun, but worth it. Once it's flat, sharpening is pretty quick. My blade's already so thin it took about 10 or 15 minutes tops. This thing is scary sharp. It cuts paper towels like they're made of paper. Even does those dramatic curly cuts. I'm impressed and a little afraid. Now, we can finally make the ultimate chow mein with the ultimate Chinese cleaver. Quick ad break, guys. Today's video is sponsored by me. If you're a passionate home cook who loves knives, food, and learning, I put together a free guide on the only 3 kitchen knives you actually need. Just sign up for the Blades and Bistro newsletter, and you'll get the guide automatically. Plus weekly tips on knife skills, recipes, and how to take care of the most important tools in the kitchen, your knives. $10 a month gets you entered into a quarterly giveaway for one of the handmade knives from the show, chosen by popular vote. It's like forging meets Food Network meets gambling, but legal. All right, let's get back to it. Chow mein literally means fried noodles, and it originated in northern China as a way to stretch simple ingredients into something satisfying and filling. It became popular among Chinese American communities, evolving into the version that we know today. Fast, tasty, and very customizable. And now it's time to see what this cleaver can do. I'm starting with the veg. Red onion, carrot, and cabbage. All sliced into long, thin strips so they can fold nicely into the noodles. This cleaver is doing some serious work. Wide, thin, flat. It's honestly a dream to use. I'm kind of bummed when I run out of stuff to chop. I feel like I was just getting in the zone. Now we're on to the chicken. And I accidentally bought bone-in thighs. Apparently I don't know how to shop. Deboning them made me feel like I was butchering the butchering. But by thigh number 5, I was mildly competent. Now, I did have to pick up a couple ingredients I never heard of. Hit up my local Asian market to get white pepper and dark soy sauce. I learned that dark soy sauce is thicker, sweeter, more intense version of soy sauce. And white pepper? I think it's just regular pepper's cool cousin. The recipe says to steam the noodles, but I don't have a steamer, so I made up my own method using some bowls and a giant pot. Now with the noodles doing their thing, I can crank up the heat on the wok. I'll be real, wok cooking is totally new territory for me, and I'm kind of terrified I'm going to offend an entire culture for some reason. This might not help. I forgot to get neutral oil, so I'm using olive oil. I know. Please don't unsubscribe. The first attempt at the chicken, well, I dumped the whole pile in and immediately killed the heat. The wok basically turned into a chicken sauna. Lesson learned, batch cooking is essential. Veggie time. I worked in small batches this time and it went way better. Actual searing, lovely smells, maybe even a little wok happening. Look at me now. After a brief break to feed my toddler, I can return to the noodles. They finished their steam bath and got tossed into the wok. All of them at once, and I killed the heat again. I might just be bad at this. So I reset, wok blazing hot, and made one single serving. Sauce, noodles, chicken, veg. It came out way better. Quick, taste test. Honestly, not bad. But I don't think my opinion is the one that matters. Let's just say Asian food has historically been my cooking kryptonite. I really want to get good at it, and I've tried numerous times. My wife is always so sweet about it. But this time?
All right, here we go. I mean, I'm gonna eat this whole thing. I'm so hungry right now.
Out of like 1 to Chinese takeout, what is it?
Well, like, we can't rate it off of like Panda Express. It's definitely better than Panda Express.
It's better than Panda Express?
It's better than Panda Express.
That's a compliment.
Yeah. Yeah, I think this is really good.
Would you eat it again?
Yeah, I would 10 out of 10 eat it again. I'd say maybe like overall, maybe I'd rate this like an 8 out of 10. I think it's very tasty, and I'm very excited to sit down and eat all this because I'm so hungry right now.
Wife approved. She gave me an 8 out of 10. That's a win, folks. That's basically a Michelin star. And the Cleaver is genuinely awesome. It's wide enough to scoop, thin enough to glide. It's versatile. It can handle anything from veg to protein. It's the perfect all-in-one kitchen tool. But I don't know if I got it quite wide enough. The widest point is just 1/8 of an inch over 3 inches. And that might count, but most of the Chinese cleavers I found on Google were about 3.5 inches wide, at least the best ones. And if you want to sign up for that free knife guide, the only 3 knives you need in the kitchen, check out the Blades and Bistro newsletter, link in the description. Let me know in the comments, what's your favorite kitchen knife and your go-to dish? I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.